and welcome to this edition of EMSNow Up Close. I am Eric Miscoll with EMSNow. And today, my guest is Julie Cliche-Dubois. She's the product manager for analytics and connectivity with Cogiscan, and it is my first opportunity to interview Julie. So welcome, and thank you for taking time to do this today.
Well, thank you, Eric. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Why don't we begin by having you introduce yourself briefly and explain what your role is within Cogiscan?
Yeah, so I've been with Cogiscan for 2 years in the product manager role. And now, funny story, it's my second tenure at Cogiscan. I was previously with them 20 years ago as a software developer. And then I moved to a support role and I left to find what I liked in life, which is product management. So I came back 2 years ago. In my role, I take care of the development roadmap around everything regarding machine connectivity and factory analytics in our factory intelligence product.
Okay. And how large of a team is that?
Well, the development team is about 8 developers because we take care of two different products. So that's a lot of work to achieve. And we have a QA analyst to perform the tests.
Okay, good. Well, let's get into this because this is good because I think you can share some unique insights here. When I think of electronics manufacturing, I think about just, especially since digitalization became all the rage, just the massive amount of data that's being generated by our industry, right? And then, and that comes, as you know, in just this variety of different formats, and then you have different protocols between the machines and older machines, newer machines. And I think a lot of people tend to think, oh, this is easy to do, right? But it's, in fact, a very complex environment. So share your insights. Tell me kind of what challenges that you and your team have to deal with in this environment, and how do you kind of, I guess, first help your customers kind of achieve that connectivity, and then to generate kind of usable data from it.
Yeah, right. That's a really good question, actually. Thanks. So we're continuously focused on improving our connectivity products, specifically our Connect platform. So we're constantly enriching our database of adapters in order to collect the richest and the best available data. And as you mentioned, this can be quite challenging as many of the machine vendors have their own way of storing and providing the data. And it's not always as straightforward as easily tapping into their data source. Now we're getting more and more standardized data with CFX, for example, but some of the equipment out there, vintage machine, only can supply a text file of data, which contains serious black holes regarding machine information. Sometimes we have limitation. We're not able to get machine status, for example, maintenance conditions. We don't know when the product enters the machine, when the product exits the machine, and don't even think about interlocking. There's no way to achieve that with text files. So we work closely with equipment vendors to tap into what they have, and in many instances, work with them to develop a solution to better access the data our customers need. So sometimes we're able to get more data from them. They are able to modify the way they provide data, and our customers can directly benefit from it. Wow. It's our commitment to get the richest data available in order to calculate factory KPIs and better illuminate where our customer needs to make process improvements so they can do proper gap analysis.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So, and when you're saying that you're working with them to develop solutions to get better access to the data, you're talking about the machine vendors there, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you're working with them, and then they're learning how to kind of tweak their programming in order to generate. Is that also the format can be changed?
Yeah. Sometimes the format can be changed, and they can provide more data, because at the end of the day, the customers all want the same thing, and whether you are a software vendor or a machine vendor, you want your customer to get the information they need to take the right decisions.
You know, I always think of it in terms of kind of you gather the data and it goes up a pyramid, and ultimately there's this great business insight and you can improve your business, right?
Yeah.
And so I assume that that's kind of so start with that. If you kind of, if we think about what happens after you gather the data, right? So the machine, that's in some ways, I don't want to say it's the easy part, but it's you gather all this data, but making sense of that for a business perspective becomes quite a challenge then. So kind of tell us a little bit about that process, and how do you process all this data to convert it into something usable?
Yes, definitely. So we've collected factory data for over 24 years now. It was initially driven by our need to drive material control solutions, and later for traceability with our track, trace, and control applications. And now we are more focused on advanced analytics. Okay. So we are approaching factory connectivity to drive more top-level production solution. And we're not only concerned by what the machine can provide us, but we're collecting data from the entire manufacturing ecosystem. So it includes machine, product, material, and process data. So with our SMT-specific domain expertise, we are able to contextualize the data, and this is the key. We are contextualizing the data so it can be more usable and understandable. We take all the information from the factory and we correlate it together. So for example, we take the data from the placement machine, from the MES, and from the scanning operation at the machine, and we tie it all together. We don't leave that information trapped into silos. We are tying it to a specific job order, for example. So then you are able to track down the data with your specific job order, and you are able to get the relevant KPIs that will help you to take the right decisions. And customers want to maximize their overall efficiency, so they need to get a full picture, not only related to a specific machine.
Yeah. Hey, and for those KPIs, so I'm thinking kind of the dashboards that you would provide then to give insight into the data. I'm assuming then Cogiscan has a library of developed KPIs, right? That they can do. But then can those also be customized, and do those grow over time for a customer?
Yes, definitely. A customer can have access to our databases. So if they want to customize their own KPIs, they just need to get the access to the database. And from there, they can build their own dashboard, their own widgets that will really talk to them and will help them solve their issues.
Okay. So they could even come and say, listen, Cogiscan, we see this, but we'd like to tweak it this way. Can you help us develop something? And then you can work with them to customize whatever it is that they're trying to accomplish.
Yes, exactly. And the key is in the machine connectivity. Once you have the data from the machine, which is one of our biggest expertise, then you are able to build all the data and the KPI that you really need.
Right, right. So it was interesting, you know, when I was at Apex, gosh, it seems so long ago, but it was only like a month ago now. You know, I spoke to both Martin and Mitch about kind of the AI use cases, right? And what they were doing. And I should say, you know, Mitch, of course, was with Cogiscan, and Martin was with ITAC. So, and I'll have the benefit, actually, I'll be interviewing Martin again next week. He'll be speaking about something. But how do I want to ask this? So a lot of the talk was around AI, right? And AI-powered solutions. And that seems to be the big buzzword in the industry everywhere today. But how does the change in advanced analytics, and especially with the AI-powered kind of solutions, change how you gather data and then even how you share it?
Yeah, you're right. AI is like the big thing right now.
Yeah.
And we're such in an exciting time as we continue to develop our AI use cases with the IIoT Edge platform. So the tricky part for my team is making sure that the vast amount of collected and shared data is both usable and understandable, and not just a jumble of comma-separated values, you know what I mean?
Right.
For example, in the case of sharing inspection measurement data with the IIoT Edge platform, not only we have to gather the appropriate data, but also provide it in a specific format and structure. So that data needs to be generated in a way that the algorithm knows how to access it, read it, and interpret it. Essentially, it knows what to expect from it every time. And when we talk about measurement data, that's a large amount of data. So we really need to parse it in a way that can be understood. So in fact, we've put in place a standard, and this standard is so clear that if you wanted to read it, you would be able to read it and you would understand what's inside all this data. So that's pretty amazing. So this is what we're using for our AI use cases as well.
Yeah, no, and that's I'll be talking with Martin about AI next week, but that it just strikes me, everybody sees it almost like this, this panacea for all the problems, right, that we're facing. But it's still the humans who are programming it and conceptual and working it that's behind it. And then it's a great tool to help deal with this. And what, I always think about it's a way, and as I hear you speaking, it sounds like that AI kind of helps you make the complex more manageable, right? So all of this data exhaust that the industry is producing, and it makes it somewhat more manageable for you. Is that generally?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We have access to so much data, but then you have to do something with it. And I don't think that as humans, we are able to process it all in a way that's usable. So we need some help from
something smarter than us, right?
Exactly.
Hey, and how long, and then is that data stored in perpetuity? I mean, is that forever then, or are there standards around how long that has to be maintained?
Well, it all depends on the different use cases. In our case, we will store it as long as it is needed. So for AI, for example, you need to keep a set of data, so the algorithm learns and learns and learns based on all the different scenarios. So I would imagine that in that case, it's worth it to keep it for a very long time, because the algorithm will get smarter and smarter.
And I'm assuming then, just as Cogiscan as a solution becomes, is growing in the industry, that your work must be keeping you very busy.
Oh yeah. I don't have time to feel bored, so that's very exciting.
And that's a good challenge, right?
Exactly.
Especially in this current environment. So, well, Julie, thank you. This has been excellent. I think you've given it, you've helped me understand it a little better. And that's, if nothing else, that's what I always appreciate from these interviews. But I think our audience will appreciate it as well. And hopefully at some point in the future, we can speak again and hear more about what you and your team are doing.
Amazing. Let's do that again.
Very good. Well, thank you very much, and have a great day.
Thanks, you too.